Hello, friends, and welcome back. Did you know we were starting?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Welcome back.
You seem so surprised.
Really? No.
Like the camera started, and you were like, "Whoa!"
No, no.
Like you popped into existence. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jason, or as you may know me as Easy Cat, and today I'm joined by Carl.
Carl.
I'm so glad you spelled that for us. So if you've been here in the past, you know that I have done some videos where I've talked about board games that I'm currently obsessed with. These are board games that I'm currently playing a lot of, that I'm really enjoying, something maybe that we recently played that we really liked. And normally I'm by myself in these videos, but...
Yeah, but now you're not today.
I'm not. So Carl plays almost all of these games with me.
I do.
And so when we were talking about the fact that I was going to do this video, I was like, well, do you just want to join me and talk about the games with me?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, I think we have 5 or 6 games that we're going to talk about today. Most, I will say, in the past when I've done these, there will be like a few that are already released, a few that have not released, maybe some that are Kickstarter. I think today I only have one to show you that is not officially released yet. And there's one that may be harder to get because I think it just got sent out to Kickstarter backers, but I'm sure if it's not already available to get, it should be in the very near future. And I'll mention when we get to that one.
Cool.
Because I want you to be able to play these games that we're obsessed with as well. We have a really good collection today. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got some solo games. We've got some bigger box games, some smaller box games.
Yep.
A little bit
excited.
Yeah, a little bit of something for everything. So before we jump in, if you enjoy board game content, if you enjoy book content, if you enjoy whatever other nonsense we're doing here, please make sure to like and subscribe. We would love to see you back here in the future. Also, let me know if you enjoy Carl joining us for today's video. You can judge him throughout the entire video, and at the end you can decide yes to more Carl in board game videos or no to more Carl in board game videos. Or maybe you just don't want me here. Maybe you only want Carl.
Oh, no.
You just let us know. And that's how you set yourself up to get a lot of really awful comments on YouTube. Cannot wait. Please be kind. I'm weak. All right, so should we start off with our first game?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so the first game we want to show you today is a game called Adulthood. Now, as of posting this video, I either have just posted a short video about this game, or I am going to in the very near future. We are going on 2 trips very soon. We're going to Gamma, which is a board game trade show, and then we're going on a cruise. So we're pre-filming a lot of stuff to post during that time, so I don't really know where this falls, but if I don't already have a short video about it, I will. So Carl, what is Adulthood about?
Adulthood is a game about teenagers who are trying to navigate themselves into their adult lives.
That's very, I mean, I guess, did they start as teenagers? I guess a little bit.
You told me that they did, because they're not like babies, they don't go to school or anything. They're literally out of school, ready to go, trying to get a job, trying to get relationships, trying to, set up their life.
Yeah, I guess so. And I forgot to mention, this comes to us from Brotherwise Games. Now, this game, like you said, you start out with, I guess they're like,
older,
if they're not teenagers,
teens,
maybe they're like just finished with college, or they're in college, like young adults. And you start with them, and they have like, a part-time job, and they're just trying to get by. And as you play, you're acquiring new cards that you can add to like better your career. You can start dating and get a relationship.
Your experience.
Yeah, you can have experiences. You can work on your wellness, your leisure. You can work on, there's a 4th one here that I'm forgetting.
Community.
Community. So you're trying to earn points in 2 different tracks.
That's right.
One is called Impact. And one is called Happiness. And when those paths cross is when the game ends. So once one player gets 2 of those to like cross over each other, because those tracks are going opposite directions, that triggers the end of the game.
I thought that was very interesting, that your impact level and your happiness level, when they meet together, the game ends.
Yeah.
But what does that mean in your life, that you've gotten this much impact and you're this happy that you've gotten to what? You've gotten to become a real good adult?
I don't know if it's the fact that they're meeting, or that you have accumulated enough combined impact and happiness to be like a fully fledged adult. I think it's more like
who's determining this level of
experts
readiness.
in the field of adulthood, I guess. I don't know. I will say, I think something really fun about this game is that if you've ever played a worker placement game and you're like placing workers on things, so in this you're placing workers, but your workers are essentially time. So you're spending the 3 resources you're spending to do everything are time, money, and energy. So certain things, like if you go on a date, that requires time and money. If you are trying to better your wellness, that requires like time and energy.
Yeah, career, you're spending time on it.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time on your career to get money. And of course, it feels like, especially early on before you like get promoted, you're spending a lot of time to get very little money.
Yes.
Which I thought was so interesting. So some reasons that I'm obsessed with this, and then I'll let Carl kind of talk as well, is I just think it's so thematic. It's so smart. But I will say a lot of times when games are like highly thematic, they also come with a kind of a higher sense of complexity. So some of the games that I think of that are like the most complex would be something like Hegemony, right?
Yes.
And that game is really, really thematic, but it's also really, really complicated. This is a pretty like medium, lightweight, easy to learn, easy to play game.
It's like an engine buildy, right?
Yeah, it's got like an engine buildiness to it, but it's very approachable and accessible, but it's also like super thematic, and I loved that about it. What did you love about this?
Well, I have comments and stuff, but I don't know if it's specifically what I like about it. But I was going to say that it was short. And I felt like that thematically, it's like, oh, life is short. And I was going through a couple different careers, to try to, do better with my money. And it was tough. I had to go for jobs I didn't really like, and I switched out for ones I liked a little bit more, but they don't make as much. And then I finally got a partner, and they were all about the money. Like, they were a celebrity, though. So, and it was just interesting finding the whole balance between, your partner and your wellness and are you doing something for the community, and then your career. And at the end, I didn't do that well. Like, I was happy, but not as happy as Jason was. Jason was much happier and had much more impact than my life.
Hearing you talk, though, kind of tells me something else that I love about this game, which that it really builds stories. Like, when you're done with this game, you're really thinking, like, you can really look back at what you did in the game, and, like, it really creates a story of a life of a person. And I think that you, as a person, the way that you play the game is in some ways, at least the first couple of plays, is going to reflect you as a person. So, for example, there were options of cards. Like, you can do good things in the game, but you can also do bad things that, like, lower your impact or lower your happiness.
You could, like, evade taxes.
Yeah, you could, like, tax evasion. You can join a gang, stuff like that. Like, in the game, there's, like, I thought it was really funny because there's a whole card where you can only ever have one partner. So if you're dating or married, but you can also get the open relationship trait, and then you can have more partners. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I say all that to say that I think the game, like, there was a card that was in front of us the whole time where we could, like, evade taxes, and I don't think either of us took it.
We're like,
because we didn't want to do that. But I think someone who likes to play, life a little bit more dangerously, or likes to play games a little bit more dangerously, might want to go that route. And so I thought that was really interesting, that the way that you play in some ways reflects who you are as a person. And I thought, like, that
what's more important? The money, the relationship.
Carl had a lot of money at the end of the game. Let me tell you, he was saving.
Well, it's because of the person I was going out with, and my career was in stocks at that point.
Oh, that's true.
And they have different things that kind of matches, kind of sync.
So in a lot of games you'll have, like, secret end game goals. So in this one you have what are called values, and they are things that they're basically like end game goals that you're working towards secretly. And if you have a value that matches, they have, like, little symbols on them, and if you have a value that matches the person that your partner, then you get extra points at the end of the game.
So that's really thematic, because the person I was dating, I ended up marrying, actually, was a celebrity, and it was all bling bling bling, and my values card was all about money. It's like, at the end of the game, every $3 or 3 currency equals to 1 point. And so I was like,
he was raking in the money.
Yeah, and the art is great too.
The art is
great.
fantastic. Yeah, just everything about the game is fun. It has a like Saturday morning cartoon art style too. I mean, you can see from the cover, and that just really pops off the page. Every card is just full of so much like even looking at the cards, has like the cards tell a lot of stories in themselves, which I thought was really fun. They're very funny and cute. And I will mention this game does have a solo mode, so this is for 1 to 4 players, so you can also play it solo. This was just a blast. We got this at Gen Con last year. I will say this game was provided to us by the publisher to do some kind of review about it, which is why I did like a TikTok, like a short video overview of it. It was not paid for to be in this video in any way, shape, or form, but it's just, we played it because I wanted to create that short piece of content about it and ended up just really loving it. It's just really...
From when I first saw it, I was like, I want to play this game. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to playing it again. I want to have a better life.
It was a joy to play, and I cannot wait till we play it again. It was
so fun.
Really excellent. So highly recommend. All right, we're going to go a little bit smaller box for our next game. This guy here, I'm going to hold it up here, so maybe we'll do a dramatic zoom of some kind. I don't know. And then we're going to sit it here. This is called Fishing. This game comes to us from Rio Grande Games, and it is for 3 to 5 players. And this is a trick-taking game, so if you ever played Hearts or Spades or things like that, it has that vibe where you're playing different suits with different numbers into the middle of the table, and the person with the highest number in the leading suit wins the trick.
And there's trumps. Normally.
Yeah, there's like a trump suit, things like that. The thing that makes this game special is it also has a deck building element to it. You start the game with like the basic cards, and then there is a deck of cards that are, when you set up the game, go from like number 1 to all the way to number 5 at the bottom of the deck. When you finish a round, if you don't have enough cards to play a full next round, you have to draw from that middle deck, and that middle deck contains better and better and better cards. So
the deeper you go, the better they are.
Yeah, so the deeper you fish, the better the catch. And so as the game goes, better and better and better cards are getting into your hand, but then somebody else might win them or steal them, and so those cards are like out and getting into everybody's hands, which is super interesting.
And another unique element of this game is that normally in trick-taking games, when you win, you just put it off to the side as your victory points. But in this case, you win, you take them, and then they get shuffled into a new deck for you to draw the cards that you'll end up using. So if you win some really good cards, you may be able to use them later on. Versus another trick-taking, you're like literally just victory points and you put them away.
And I will say, every card you win is a victory point. So you might think, well, I really want to win as many cards as possible because those are victory points. But let's say you win every hand in the first round. There's 8 rounds. You win every hand in the first round, you have tons of points, you're doing great. But everyone else at the table is now going to get to dig in to that deck of better cards. And so the next round, you are actually going to have the weakest hand because everybody else got better cards from that deck. And so it has this like really interesting balance throughout the game. And I think it's also really cool because every time I've played this, the scores have been so close in the end because it has that really beautiful balance.
Yeah, it's so interesting because every single card you win is 1 point, but then they could all be very low cards. So it's like, when do you decide to win and when do you decide not to win?
Yeah, you got to know when to hold them.
And then they have special cards in there too that have special abilities too that really messes things up.
Yeah, so they have like, for example, there's one of the cards you can get from the deck are these 0 cards, and they are 0 in the different suit colors. And when you play them, obviously play 0, you're going to lose the trick. However, the 0 lets you, before whoever won the trick collects their cards, it lets you steal a card from the trick. So if somebody played like a really good trump card or a really high card, you could then steal that from them and have it in your hand for the next round. We, over the last year, have really come to love deck building games, but I will say this one, more than any that we've played, creates these moments of drama at the table where somebody thinks they've got it. They played a great card, and then somebody plays something else that totally ruins their play, and you just hear everyone at the table go, ah!
Yeah, it's almost like really anyone's game because it's just so subversive. You don't really know what's going to happen.
It's really, really excellent. There are so many trick-taking games on the market that I always think like, well, there can't be that many new ideas. There are very few games where I could sit and play it over and over and over again. Like if we were like, okay, we're going to play this, and then you finish, you're like, oh, we got to run it again. We got to play it again.
Flip 7.
And like Flip 7 definitely falls into that category for me. I mean, for me also like Forest Shuffle is a game that like, I've told you this before, like I will never say no to playing Forest Shuffle. I had that in one of my previous previous games I'm obsessed with videos, but this game definitely falls into that category where like I could easily play this over and over again because it's light enough that it's just a quick, fun play, but it's got a lot of drama to it. It's got a lot of really funny moments to it where, like I said, you think you've got it. Like, this is my play. I'm going to win this hand. I'm going to get a bunch of great cards for my next hand. It's going to be so good. And then someone throws something in and just completely ruins your day. And that sounds bad, but it's hilarious and it's really, really fun. Any other thoughts on fishing?
I try to eat as much fish as possible because it's good for me. So whenever I have the opportunity, I eat fish.
It's very hard because I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat any meat. So anytime we're out and about, Carl will eat fish or steak or chicken. Where at home we literally just eat broccoli all day. That's the only
vegetables, fruits and vegetables,
and things like that. What is happening? We're just talking.
I don't know.
Would you like to know what we eat on a daily basis? Let's go. Let's review our meal plan. Anyway, that's fishing from Rio Grande Games. This is available. I will say when I got it, it was a little bit challenging to find because I think it has been pretty popular. So I think ordering it has been a little bit of a challenge. However, I think it's becoming more and more available. But it has been released and it's so good. Also, it's like small. So it's easy to take anywhere, play with anyone. It's easy to teach. The rules are literally like 2 sides of like a little pamphlet, so it's quick to learn. Highly recommend. This is such a good game.
Yes.
I think we're going to play this a lot over the coming year.
Yes.
Really good. All right, let's talk next about Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang's Destiny. Carl, why don't you tell us what this game... You don't want to tell us...
Oh, no. It is a deck builder game, very traditional deck building game in which it goes through the storyline of the show, which I never really saw. So it starts from the beginning if you're familiar with the show.
So I'm going to pause you right there. Something we've been talking about doing is doing a watch through of Avatar: The Last Airbender because Carl's never seen it, and doing the way that I do reactions to things like One Piece or ExoKitty, doing that, but to Avatar, and then including Carl in that. And then at the same time, I would read the Avatar novels. So let us know if that's something you would be interested in seeing, because it's something that I think we're very strongly considering. Anyway, go on.
Well, I did see Korra. I want to say Korra, the Discoverer.
Korra the Explorer.
Korra the Discoverer. Oh my goodness. Erase.
I think you mean Korra the Explorer, like Explorer, like
God,
Dora.
Yes, but it's not.
But we have not seen Dora, but we have seen Korra. So now you can watch the better prequel. I mean, Korra's excellent. But
you play through a storyline, and each play session, you're playing a campaign of the first story arc, and then you move on and go to like the second, and they add new mechanics as you go. So in the very beginning, it's very base traditional deck building game, if you're familiar.
This comes to us from the Op. This is for 2 to 4 players. This is very similar to their Hogwarts battle game that they made. So if you played that, essentially, like Carl said, it's deck builder. You're starting with like a really crummy hand of like deck of cards, and as you play, you're buying better and better cards to make your deck better and better.
That's right.
This box plays through the entire story of all 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And it's cooperative. We didn't mention that. It's cooperative, and so, these baddies come out, horrible things happen to you every single round, and you're trying to like defeat these enemies and survive before something happens.
Yeah, so I think it might change later in the game.
There's a winning condition that changes in each session that you do.
So you can there's a boat that is like moving along a track, and it's supposed to be like Prince Zuko's boat, and if he reaches you, you lose, but you have to beat a certain amount of enemies, and you have to complete a certain amount of, I think they're like story cards. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but it's essentially the story is playing out. You have to complete both of those before the boat reaches the end of the track to win. Some things that I really enjoy about this is, yes, it's deck building, but it also incorporates the different forms of bending. Anybody can buy the different bending cards, but characters who have that bending ability get extra boosts from those cards,
which I think is specific cards.
Yeah, which I think is really cool.
What you're bending.
The other thing I think is cool is that as you're going through the story cards, you unlock you get rewards. So there'll be like a reward that says like, oh, Aang gets this card, or Sokka gets this card, or Katara gets this card, or things like that. And so you're constantly being rewarded for the things you complete. And then many of those cards end up staying in your deck going into the next game. I think there are 7 chapters, and they're all fully replayable. And then once the game is finished, you probably would just replay number 7 over and over again, because that will be like the complete game with all the rules. But you certainly could reset and play through the whole thing again. And there's no reason why you couldn't do that. Or you could just play your favorite chapters once you've played through the whole thing. It's not legacy. You're not writing on anything. You're not tearing anything up. So you can easily reset and replay it from the beginning again.
I mean, I highly recommend this type of game. And it's not legacy, but as you play, each session just adds more cool things. There's little surprises and different challenges. Like the way the bad guys win in the first one will change in the second one. And so there's always something kind of exciting going on as you're playing. So I think it helps to bring you back to the table to play the same game again and again. So there's that type of replayability, and it'll change.
And so 2 things I'll mention. If you are newer to board games or newer to deck builders, this game is great because it really eases you into the process and teaches you a little bit at a time. But by that same token, if you are already a big gamer, you've played a lot of deck builders, just know that the first 2 chapters are going to feel pretty basic when it comes to deck builders, and then it's really going to start adding some challenge and escalating and getting more and more interesting and challenging and complex. So if you are like someone who plays a lot of deck builders, and I think they even say this in the rules, to just be aware that the first 2 chapters are pretty on the basic side to help teach new people or even people coming back to deck builders from after a long time how to play, and then things start to get really interesting.
I hope they do more of these.
Yeah, I really like this system that they've created, and I think I'm really glad that they decided to do another one with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I would love to see more. What deck building games do you hope they do? What stories do you hope they do?
One Piece.
Oh, One Piece one would be amazing. That would be incredible.
And as always, any Marvel or DC properties. I love any IPs. Actually, I love all IP stuff. So
if you are at the op and you are watching this video, yes, One Piece, but Jurassic Park. Please. There are about to be 7 movies, 7 chapters. I'm just saying, I would love it. I think any anime would work great with this system. I think it's tricky because I think for something like this, you do need an IP that people are really, really excited about. But I think Avatar is one of those IPs that people get really hyped about. But yeah, Jurassic Park.
I would love more. There's so many good deck building games.
Really, any IP you want to put into this, we'll probably play.
Please.
Just so you know. But yeah, that's Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang's Destiny. Like I said, this comes to us from the op, 2 to 4 players, and each session takes about an hour to play. Next up, we're going to do another little small box here. This here is Cavern Shuffle. Now, this is a solo game, and little baby box. Look at that. He's just right there. This is an interesting game because I was playing a lot of it, and I even got Carl to play it.
And I don't play solo games.
Carl does not play solo games. So Cavern Shuffle.
Until now, I now do.
Now you've started, yeah. Cavern Shuffle is essentially solitaire. So you have your different rows. The first row only has 1 card, all the way to the last row that has, you add 1 extra card per row. So I guess the last row has 7 cards, I guess. And only the top 1 is face up, the rest are face down. And you are working to basically put, much like in solitaire, the 2 on top of the 3 on top of the 4, like put these numbers together. Yep. The difference here is that the cards, the numbered cards, right, each suit is a different adventurer in your party of 4 that is like going through a dungeon. And you are trying to get them from level 1 up as high a level as you can get so that you can beat a Minotaur. So there are monsters patrolling the dungeon that have health, and depending on your character level and your party level, you'll be able to defeat those monsters. It's basically just number versus number. So your party level versus the health value of a monster is what lets you defeat them. Yeah. And there are also obstacles that your different characters, depending on their personal level, will have to overcome. So it is like solitaire, but with a twist.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. It's very addictive. It's very random, so it's very unforgiving.
Yeah, it can be so frustrating. You're like, oh, so how long did it take for you to even win?
I had to play a lot to win.
Yeah,
I know how when you play solitaire on a computer, and sometimes you'll start, and after 2 turns, you're done, and it's time to start over. This also has that. Yeah. The difference is that I can't just click a button to reset. I have to reshuffle to do it. But I got fully obsessed with this game. And there was a night where I think I played for 3 hours straight, just over and over and over and over. Because I was like, I have to win this. And then Carl, watching me just dive into this and just be like, one more game, somehow saw that as a reason for him to try it. And had the same thing happen.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it was just fascinating the way it is. It's because it's so simple as solitaire, but then it's there's characters. You're the warrior, the mage, the whatever. And it's exciting because you're building their level while you're, matching the numbers. But then it's when I started playing it, I was getting really frustrated. I was like, there's no way you can just win because it's kind of so much luck involved that I felt like
There is
I might
skill.
not
There is
ever
there is
win.
some skill, but there is also an incredible amount of luck involved in the game. So, and I'll just show you. The art is very cute. It's got some very adorable artwork.
Yeah, it looks great.
Which I really love. You know what's funny is like even with that frustration, even with the randomness of it, even with the luck-basedness of it, I think because it is a game that you can play a full round in 10 minutes or less, I think that's what keeps me coming back to it. When you play solitaire, you're kind of doing it to kill time. You're kind of doing it to like have a like get your brain thinking a little bit, but not too much. You know, like you want like a little time passer. And this really fulfills that. Like, this is a game that I just, like, want to play over to... And I will say, because it's so random, and because it's so luck-driven, and because it's so challenging, when you win, it feels so good. You feel like you could take on the world.
It's like gambling. Like, I just, like, I ended up stopped playing it because I was like, this is not very satisfying. I hadn't won once at all, so I didn't get a taste of that.
Yeah, well, it does feel like gambling, and I'm glad that you can't bet money on it, because I probably would. Because this game is so addicting to me. Like, I can't stop playing. Like, I have to be mindful of if I'm going to sit down to play it once, because I can't just play it once. If I sit down to play it, I'm going to play it 10 times and waste the entire night.
Like, I feel like I don't mind it being hard and almost impossible as long as I feel like I'm getting better each time, but you don't actually get better.
No,
You're just like, luckier or not luckier. So you could just play like a billion times and just be like, the cards are horrible.
I don't know if Carl is obsessed with this game. I'm obsessed with this game.
I like it though.
It's fun. I feel like it's funny because I feel like everything we're saying, it sounds very negative, right? Like we're like, oh, it's so frustrating, it's so upsetting, and yet I would gladly sit down and play it right now because I just enjoy it so much.
We definitely need to do a video on solo games since I've been playing more solo games, and so of the solo games I played though, this was actually meant to be solo, and so it feels really complete in that sense. All the other games I've been playing thus far are regular games that have solo modes, and those feel a little bit more clunky, but this feels very complete in it.
And that's not always the case. I will say I play a lot of solo games. I think there are some that are a full game that has a solo mode, and the solo mode feels great, but there is something about games that are specifically made to only be played solo. There's just something about them that's really special. Most of the time, solo modes are added on, and there are great solo modes that are part of games that are not originally meant to be solo. A lot of times they're even designed by a different person than designed the original game, which is wild. But this was designed with solo in mind. And if you like solitaire and if you like Dungeons and Dragons type theming, you'll just enjoy this so much. Like, it really combines those two things in just like the best way possible.
And it's compact. You know,
you can take it anywhere. Like, this is going to be in my bag as we travel for the next 2 weeks because I just love it so much.
And it's a quick little game, kind of.
It's quick if you only play one round. If you're like me and need to play it until you win, it could take up your whole night. But it is a quick to play one round game. Like, what does it say? This says, how long does it say that it takes to play? It says 15 minutes to play the game.
But how long to win?
But how many times do you have to play to win? I don't know.
6 hours.
But yeah, this is Cavern Shuffle. Now, this one I did back on Kickstarter, so I don't know if this is readily available to get right now if you didn't do that. But I would take a look. It's called Cavern Shuffle Maze of the Minotaur. This comes to us from Gravy Boat Games. I would just, if it sounds something interesting to you, I would just Google it and see if you can find it. If it's not currently available to people who didn't back it, I'm sure it will be soon because, you know, companies that make games, they want to sell more of them. So I'm sure that, and this is not like a super expensive product to produce, I would imagine, compared to some of the games we play. If it's not readily available right now, I'm sure it probably will be soon. Take a look at that if that sounds interesting to you because I love this. It says something that it frustrates me so much when I play it, and yet I still love it and want to play it all the time.
Addiction. That's what it says.
That might be correct. All right, we've got 2 games left to show you.
Really?
We've got 2 games left to show you. So our second to last is Wandering Galaxy. This comes to us from Plaid Hat Games. This is for 1 to 6 players. Carl, do you want to tell us a little bit about Wandering Galaxy?
Well, it's a wonderful game. Very colorful. It is a game.
The way you said it's a wonderful game.
It's a game in the Crossroads line of games, and Crossroads games are about story choices, things that jump into your gameplay that is part of a story that are triggered. Anyways, you're in space and you're flying around. You look like you're children flying around in space with aliens, and you are all flying around trying to...
Are you making this up as you go? You played this with me.
I know, I'm trying to remember. You're picking up cargo and different things, and delivering them to make money because you know what, there's an app and it's a storyline. That's one of the great things about this is I really like this game.
I'm really glad I asked you to explain this.
Why did you do this to me?
So
it's a good game.
I wanted you to have a chance to contribute. So
it's such a good game. It's got a story.
Wandering Galaxy, like you said, is a story-based game. It is app-based. However, the app is a web app, so you don't need to download anything. You don't have to have a specific phone. You can do it on your computer. You can do it on your tablet, on your phone, whatever you want to do.
It has voice acting.
The entire thing is not voice acted yet. They are currently working on getting the whole thing voice acted, but of what we played, I would say about 80% of what we played was voice acted.
It's so cute.
And so your main thing, at least from what we've seen so far, is that you get a ship and then you are trying to make enough profit to like win every round before enough bad things happen to you that you lose every round. I think you have like a threat meter, and if that gets to a certain point, you lose, but if you make enough profit before that happens, you win the round. And you can play multiple rounds and your story carries over amongst them. And you play these different characters and each of them can get like different items and different abilities and you can level all of that up. It definitely has that like role-playing game flair, and what's cool is you're going to different locations and you're making selections of what you want to do and how you want to do that. You also can do like combat in your ship, so you can go out and you can do like space combat, which is really cool, and you're doing tests because you're kind of deck building as well, and your tests involve like playing cards from your deck to see if you pass the test. It's very immersive. Something that I think is really cool is that it goes up to 6 players, and so if you have 6 players, each person will take control of one part of the ship.
Yes!
If you have less players, then each person will take control of multiple parts of the ship, but it feels like you're in Star Trek.
It's
like
really cool.
One person is handling security, and one person is handling like information, and one person
life support.
is doing life support, and so you're all like dealing with these different knobs, and different things affect different things.
Then.
It is cooperative.
I couldn't remember. I was like, but then I was like, wait, it has to be if we're all controlling different parts of the ship. That's one of the really cool things about it. It's really thematic. It's colorful. The art is great. The great storyline, voice acting, sound effects. It's funny.
Yeah, it's very charming.
It's a really good game. Like, I totally want to continue playing this game.
If you watched the most recent Disney Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew, this is like Skeleton Crew the game. Like, it really has that vibe to it, which I loved Skeleton Crew, so I was really excited about that. The other really great thing about it is the app has a tutorial that teaches you to play as you play. So if you are new to this type of game and you don't want to read like a big chunky rule book, you can play the tutorial and learn to play as you play, which was really fun, and it got us into the game really, really quickly. There's just so much going on, but it still feels like very manageable. And the story, I've played a lot of role-playing like games, and in many of them, the story is really just a vessel to get you to the combat, because really the main aspect of the game is like fighting monsters or surviving or fighting a big thing or whatever. This game, the story really feels at the heart and soul of the game. And then there is combat and there is other things you can do, but like the heart of this is a story, and it feels like a sandbox. Like once you get out into space with your ship, you can really choose where to go, and you'll get a main mission, but you'll also have side missions. So you're kind of like flying around space, kind of looking for adventure, trying to make a profit in some way or another. And it has that choose your own adventure vibe where sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't, which is really fun.
And resource management. I would say that it's family friendly, except it says 14 and up, so it's not like toddler friendly.
I think you could play with your family. It's just that the mechanics of the game are a little bit more complicated, and there is some reading involved.
And because it's a crossroads game, it is story heavy too. So I think it's a really good balance of like story, so you're very immersed, but then there's like action and so many things to do on the board.
I want to make sure that we say it never feels overwhelming. When I play some of these role-playing games, like I've played Gloomhaven solo, and that game, the mechanics are great, but there are so many fiddly little, like, it's almost like you're doing accounting work, like as you're like making sure that this card does this and that this enemy has that, and then, I have to do that. There's just like so much upkeep in that game in between rounds, making sure that everything works. That the nice thing about that game is like, I like playing it solo, but it's almost nice to have other people to play, just to make sure that all of that accounting is taken care of. This never feels that way. It never feels like there are just all these fiddly bits that I need to make sure are in the right place. It feels very streamlined and very accessible, despite feeling so vast and feeling like it has so much detail and so much to it, which I think is really cool. We're big fans of Plaid Hat games. I don't think I've ever played a game of theirs I didn't enjoy, so it was not a surprise that we really liked this, but this is the first one of their games we've played in a while. I think it's been a little while since we picked up one of their games, but this was really excellent. We only played the first little bit, and neither of us can wait. Like, we can't wait to dive back in.
They knocked it out of the park.
Knocked it out of the park. Wandering Galaxies. Wandering Galaxy. It's only one
Oh.
galaxy. It's not multiple galaxies. There's just one.
That's right.
But galaxies are pretty big, so we only need one. The last game that we're going to talk about today, now this one, I do want to preface, this is A Place for All My Books. This comes from Smirk and Dagger. This game is not on the market yet. It just wrapped up its Kickstarter, a very successful Kickstarter campaign. This is a prototype copy that I got because I did a video discussing the game during the Kickstarter. Though you cannot partake in the Kickstarter right now, I'm sure they will do what is called a late pledge, and then you'll be able to still back it and get a copy. And also the Kickstarter was incredibly successful, so even if you don't do that, this will probably be available at retail like later this year or at the latest like early 2026, I would imagine. Don't quote me on that. I don't work for Smirk and Dagger. I don't know when they plan to release this, but I would imagine, considering how close to finish this prototype felt, I would imagine it would be pretty soon that they would have it on the market. I'm going to explain the game. Do you mind? Is that okay with you?
Go ahead.
Or do you want to explain it?
No, go ahead. I'll add as you go.
Okay, great. So A Place for All My Books is a cozy themed game where you are essentially organizing books around your house, doing little projects to try and build up your social battery so that you can then go into town and acquire more books to bring home, to add to your stacks of books in all the different places in your house, to do your little projects, to make your little stacks of books. So you have cards that basically have like different colors of books in different orientations in different places in your house, and you are trying to complete those cards in a grid on your board to try and complete them and then get points from them. But you can also do things like read a book, which increases your social battery. You can do things like rest, which increases your social battery. You can do all these little things where you're increasing your social battery, and then you spend that when you go into town to acquire books, to trade out books that you've already read with other books, to go to the library. You can also go to the store and you can pick up like other things, you know, like little knick-knacky things that like a book bag or like a bookcase or like a little cute little thing to put on your bookshelf or things like that, right? So it's very thematic, and of course, as a huge reader, I loved how bookish this was, and it felt very on brand and very on theme for something that I loved.
It's almost like something we could have, should have.
I know, when we got done playing this first time, Carl was like, why didn't we make this?
Yeah, I just love how thematic is the fact that, you know, you're basically a homebody who loves to read, and so you have to build up your energy to leave the house, and the only time you leave the house is to get more books.
Yeah, which feels very real. I want to show you the books.
Oh, and the character art is great.
Yeah, the art is great. All right, to give you an idea, these are some of the books. Kind of just show you there. They're like little mini books, and they come in different colors, and you're making little stacks of them. They look like this. You can kind of see, they're obviously very small.
This is other stuff that you could buy when you go into town, like art supplies, a knitting set, board games.
Yeah, you can get board games. I will say the art is done by Naomi Lord, who is a very popular artist, especially in the board game space. So if you know Naomi's artwork, you know that the art is just wonderful, just incredible. I'll show you the back of that because it's easier to see. Listen, we play a lot of games that are like prototypes that are not out on the market yet, and a lot of them we play and we're like, oh, we really like this. This is really cool. Excited to play it. You know, when it's finished. After we played this the first time, like it felt like a finished game already, which was great. But at the same time, I was like, man, I can't wait to play this again. Like I want all my friends to play it. I want all my bookish friends to play it. We recently went to Level Up Retreat, and I was trying to find ways to somehow fit this into my suitcase, even though it's a larger box, because I really wanted people to play it. Ultimately, we didn't take it because it is a larger box. But like, you know, this is a prototype that I got to make a video, like make content for a game company. And I loved it so much that I was trying to like fit it into my suitcase so I could bring it places with me because I wanted more people to play it.
And do you remember what mechanic uses these little cats and the sunshine?
Yeah, certain, I think it's the other neat stuff. Certain other neat stuff you get will give you like ongoing benefits as well. So
cozy.
Yeah, it's very cozy. It's very cute.
This is Lo-Fi Girl the game almost.
It kind of is Lo-Fi Girl the game.
It's got that feel.
Yeah, it's just a really lovely game. And the great thing is I think, you know, something you may know about me if you follow my content is that I really love introducing readers to board games and board games to books. I love that intersectionality of my content. And so the fact that this is really just this beautiful like marriage of both of those, it's a board game that I think readers can pick up and play because it is really accessible and it's not super complicated. But it's also a board game that I think like gamers will really love because it still has enough play and enough bite to it to be interesting. Sometimes when games are are made to be accessible to a wider audience, they end up maybe being a little on the lighter side for a lot of gamers. I feel like we love a very diverse range of games. We love stuff that's super light, and we love stuff that's super crunchy, and everything in between. But I think for some people, when games are made to be super accessible, they might feel a little too light. I feel like this game has enough meat there that it's not going to feel too light for people that play games a lot, and I like that.
You don't have to worry about building up your own personal social energy to play it, because you can play it solo too.
You can play it solo as a solo mode,
for people who are homebodies who don't really want to play with other people.
It has a great solo mode. Highly recommend, and it's just a really lovely, beautiful little game. I can't. I mean, like I said, when a prototype looks this good, I'm always curious to see how good the final product will look, because this feels finished, even though it's not. I just can't wait to see what they do with this game now that they've had this really successful Kickstarter. It's a game that, as I watched the Kickstarter do so well, I was so proud and happy for them, because I think they made something so great, and I was so incredibly grateful that I had a chance to play it early and talk about it, early on in this process. That's how much I loved the game, was that I felt honored to have been part of even just talking about it ahead of time before it had its full release. We really like this a lot. It's just so lovely. This is one that we're thinking about bringing on our cruise with us, because as long as they don't make me send it back so soon, because they might see this video and realize I still have this prototype. They haven't asked me to send it back yet, but they might. Listen, just don't look. Just if you made this game, just pretend you didn't see anything here. You don't know where this copy is. It's lost, and you'll never see it again. Is this considered robbery? I don't know. Anyway, that is A Place for All My Books. That is the last one of our games that we have to talk about today of games that we are obsessed with, and we absolutely loved this one. Anyway, those are the games that we are currently obsessed with. I think we want to make doing this video format a little bit more regular, so let us know if you enjoy seeing the board games that we're currently obsessed with. Let us know what board games you are currently obsessed with, and if you've played any of the games we talked about today and what you think of them. We'd love to hear more about that. Of course, we are also hopefully planning to do some more playthroughs for you in the future. That is also on the docket, but we also just like sitting here and talking about games that we've played, and we think that's really fun and enjoyable too. So, and of course, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. We would love to see you back here for more whatever we do, whether we're talking about our book reviews or talking about board games we love or playing board games or just, having fun. Who even knows? Who even knows what we're going to be doing by next month? It changes by the second. But thank you so much for watching. Carl, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, I sort of had to be. And to all of you watching, thanks for watching. And of course, happy playing.